Alright, what is going on, everybody? This is Trudger MC, and today we are going to be looking at the old versus the new, as you can tell by the thumbnail. So, today we have some Spawn figures here, and we have Spawn 2, who is from Series 3, 1995, and then we have Spawn 3, which is from Series 7, in 1996. And if you want, if y'all want to have your wings open, that's totally fine. Just activate, go up. There we go. Okay, so yeah, so Spawn 3 and Spawn 2, and I could make a comparison of like how well do these guys stack up to the Greg Capullo design. I could do that, but I figure we're actually going to compare them more accurately to the main Spawn figure that I actually have from the newer line. So this is the Mortal Kombat 11. It's called the Commando Spawn, but this is based off of the Dark Ages skin from Mortal Kombat 11. And so this guy, I don't have a lot of the new Spawn figures, but this is basically the main guy that I have for that. So here he is in between the middle of them, and y'all can tell right off the bat that there are some differences here. Like, I'd say the most notable one is the scale, obviously, because these two figures are from 6-inch scale. This one is more 7-inch scale. So that's obviously a big difference, and that's the only thing. No, I'm kidding. So we're going to take a look at, kind of what we have going on here. So I have reviewed both of these guys here. I haven't actually reviewed this guy yet. If you want me to review this guy, I definitely can. I don't know why I haven't yet, but yeah, so here we go with Spawn 3. So this is the first traditional Spawn that I got from the classic line, because I got this guy before I got Spawn 3. And he looks really cool. I like the, the half messed up face there. And yeah, like, I have reviewed this guy, so if you want to know more about this guy, you can check that out, including this massive weapon that he has here. But yeah, I feel like this is just a pretty traditional, like, Greg Capullo Spawn there. He's super crouched over, but that's kind of the design there. And then his cape, it's more of a wing system than a cape, but, it has a nice play feature there. So I feel like, it's just like if you're interested in a classic-looking Spawn there, that would just kind of fit in with your 6-inch figures and has a little bit of battle damage to make it more interesting, this guy's not a bad pick. So there you go. And then as far as Spawn 3 goes, I mean, this guy just is like the epitome of shelf presence, because, like, look at those wings. And, yeah, it's like, when he had the wings down, you kind of saw how he looked at the beginning. So, he looked like, a traditional, like, type Spawn. And then with the wings up like that, it's like, oh my goodness, this guy's got, like, these massive wings there. So, there you go. And then, as you can see here, like, with the differences there, this one's actually a little bit leaner. And his musculature isn't, like, super all over the place. So, there you go. And his eyes do look darker, but that's because there's supposed to be a light-up feature that doesn't work. But it's not my fault. The batteries are non-replaceable. But, yeah, so he's got, like, and as you can see, like, the color there, too. Like, this one is more of a dull red color, and then this one's, I guess, more of a traditional red. I don't really know what you would call it, but you can see that this one is more red, and then this one's almost more brown. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting there. And, this is definitely supposed to be the, same design there of, Greg Capullo Spawn. Is just taken a little bit differently. So this one's more about the sculpt and, being unique by having the battle damage on there. And then this one is just more of a clean look for Greg Capullo Spawn, more specifically based off of the art of Spawn 43, where he had this enormous cape that's just kind of going all over the place. So that's what the inspiration was with that. So, it's like I could make the comparison just between those two, but I feel like, with all of that information in mind, you could also, after that, you can take a look at this guy here. And this guy is more about the sculpt, but then also, like, having, like, more of a modern, articulation system where he has a bicep joint. He has a double jointed elbow. He has wrist articulation. He has a double, he has double points of articulation in the torso that allows him to go forward and back. He, as well as, a swivel. And with his legs, that can go out as well as forward and back. And then there's a thigh swivel, and then there's a, double jointed knee and all of that. So you kind of get the idea there that it's like, this guy has, definitely beats these two in terms of articulation. And then with the sculpt, you know, like, even though these both are really good for what they are, I feel like objectively the sculpt is better, you know, with this look here. So, he definitely looks more like, you know, like what you would think of Spawn, of just being like, you know, this huge presence, you know, with weapons, and, you know, he's ready to go to war with basically anyone that, you know, kind of stands in his way. So, there you go. Hence why I have him holding this. Even though he didn't come with this weapon, I feel like it only makes sense that he have it. So, yeah. So, I feel like, you know, it's like, you know, he definitely has a better sculpt, and he obviously has better articulation. I feel like that goes without saying. But if you saw my video last week of talking about, you know, like the 5 A's of action figures, so it's like, you know, this guy has a better aesthetic and articulation, I would say. But then with accessories, so with the accessories, this guy only came with 2 of these things, and I only have him holding 1 because I like the gun, but I got the gun from the munitions pack the McFarlane made. So in case you're wondering how I got that, that's how I got that. But then with Spawn 2, he came with this thing, and, you know, it's like, that's really cool. I don't really know what exactly it's supposed to be, but it's just some crazy gun. So, I feel like, you know, that articulation, or not articulation, the accessory, you know, this guy has, you know, just kind of blows it out of the water. And then you have Spawn 3 here. He's not holding any of his accessories, but he did come with this, like, club-type weapon. And then he also came with a couple of animals. So, it might seem weird. It's like, why did he come with that? But, you know, it's just kind of, you know, what it is. So, I feel like this guy definitely has the most, when it comes to accessories, because even though it's one, it's this massive gun that really could have other figures holding him. Because it's so big, you could even, like, have it, like, it even looks kind of in scale with, like, another figure, you know, like a bigger figure, like a modern one. So, I feel like, you know, that's pretty good. So, those are 3 out of the 5. And then as far as the, action goes, again, I feel like these 2 have him beat, because this one, you have these, you know, it's kind of like a wing-like cape. It even said that on the box. It's like a wing-like cape, so you could have, you know, going out like that, or, you know, you can have it down. I personally like it better down, because it looks more like a cape, but, you know, just the play feature of that, you know, I think that that's pretty cool. And then, as far as the, action goes with this guy, he did have a light-up feature that doesn't work. But again, that's because the battery's not replaceable. I'm sure in 1997, this guy was really cool with the light-up eyes. But he does also have, you know, this, that basically gives him 2 completely different looks. So you could have the cape, you know, down, or you can have it up. And, having this side go down is just an absolute pain for me. I don't know why, but, yeah, so bear with me as I put this back in place. And, yeah, so that's kind of, you know, what you got there. And then, yeah, so there you go. So 2 completely different looks with this figure here. And I definitely like, I actually prefer the cape going down instead of it going up. Let me know what you think. Like, do you like this figure more with the cape down or the cape up? I personally like it better down because it looks more like a cape. But there you go. So I feel like these 2 definitely have him beat in terms of action, because this one doesn't have any play feature or anything like that. These 2 very clearly did. So there's that. And then as far as addition goes, like, you know, what figures work well with these? Well, you could really go with anyone. I feel like it depends more off of, you know, what do you collect? Because if you collect the, you know, the newer figures, then this one is the way to go, because these 2 would be out of scale and would obviously look a lot different. But then if you collect the older figures, then you wouldn't want this one, because he would be too big and would be, you know, too detailed compared to, you know, the other ones. So really, I'd say that, you know, like, as far as, you know, aesthetic and articulation, the newer figure is better. But then as far as action and accessories, you know, these, you know, the older ones are better. So then and then with the addition, it's a tie. So that means that there's not really a clear winner, because they both have 2.5 out of 5 points there. So then the question is of, like, you know, who wins? I would say that's up to you to decide, you know, which one do you prefer? Because ultimately that's what this is, you know. Because with collecting action figures, it's a hobby and it's also a choice. Because when you go to, You know, when you go to a store with money and you have it determined if I'm going to get an action figure, that's a choice. And then a lot of times you go to a store and you see that there's a lot there. And then it's a choice of, you know, do I get everything? Do I get none of these? Do I only get one or two of them? And, you know, it's like, you know, what do you do with that? It's a similar thing with online. I obviously find a lot of these older figures off of eBay. So there's a lot of options on eBay. And so it's a choice of, you know, what do I do? Do I get all of these? Do I only get one of them? Do I just get two of them? Do I get the one that I want the most out of those? Do I get the one that I want the least out of these? It's like, you know, what do I do? And so it's a choice. And then it's also a choice of, you know, like, what do you value the most? Because if you value, you know, like, the sculpt and the articulation and how it looks with newer figures, then for you, you know, you probably wouldn't have much value in these. So if you see the older figures, you're like, I don't need those, I don't want those, and then you'd move on. And then you could, you know, you could flip that around and have it be the opposite, you know, where it's like, I don't want the newer figures because I want the older figures. So it really depends on what you personally choose to do with that, you know, where it's like, you know, what you think would fit your collection the best, and also kind of, you know, goes along with your rules. Because I believe that if you go into this collecting, you know, hobby, then you have to have rules. Otherwise, you're going to spend all of your money and you're basically going to have no space. So it's good to have rules there. And if you want me to make a video where I talk about the rules of like what the rules that I follow with collecting, let me know in the comments, because I can definitely do that. Yeah, but I feel like that's really it. So it's just kind of what I did with last week's video, where it's like, you know, I talked about why we collect action figures, and so then that, you know, in the end I didn't really give a clear answer of this is exactly why we do this. It's like I gave my reasons why I like doing it, but then I just kind of left it open-ended of what do you like more. So it's kind of a similar thing with this, where it's like, you know, do you like the older figures or the newer figures? You know, it depends. And so I'm not going to tell you that's like, this is the right answer. You have to get the older figures or you have to get the newer figures. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that I personally prefer the older figures because I think they're more fun. But if you collect the newer figures, I totally understand why. And I have some of the newer figures too, so I'm not going to say that that's a bad thing, you know. It's all good, and I just want to know what y'all think. So that's what I have. If you like this kind of content, you want to see more of it, do be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments of basically like, yes, I want to see more content like this, or you could just give me some suggestions of, yeah, I want to see you put together a list of, you know, like your rules that you follow, and what rules should I follow with this, you know, or it could be, you know, whatever else y'all want to see. But yeah, so that's about all that I have. This went a little longer than I thought, but you know what, it's all good. Thank you for watching all of this, and other than that, I do hope that you enjoyed, and that I will see you later for the next one. Goodbye.